the desert of the real.
Welcome to the Desert of the Real non-Marvel edition. I am your host, Jason Dietz, and with me is my co-host,
Ryan Hudson.
And this week we will be tackling our first non-Marvel movie. This is a movie that I love called I See You that Ryan has never seen or had never seen.
It was a first watch for me.
First watch. It was like the 8th or 9th watch for me. I love this movie because it rewards multiple watches, among other things. But before we get into that, I just remembered that we promised that I was going to give you a brief explanation of Welcome to the Desert of the Real.
Like the Desert of the Real, our titular idea.
Yes,
well, not idea.
The
it
concept, yes.
Sounds cool.
It's a lot more than that. So one of the things that I teach here at high school is I am the philosophy teacher. One of my very favorite philosophers' name is Jean Baudrillard. He has a lot of really interesting ideas about where our society is currently. His main idea, which the Desert of the Real comes from, is the idea that our society has left reality. We are no longer wanting to participate in reality, and movies, especially the Marvel movies, but movies and Instagram and TikTok and all of this has become the new real. And so we spend increasingly large amounts of time outside of reality, which is now the desert, because we don't want to be there. There's nothing interesting there. We increasingly want to be in the hyper-real, which Marvel movies are an excellent example of what I think Baudrillard was talking about.
And is Baudrillard, does he have a Twitter that we can follow?
I have no idea.
This sounds like a guy who just popped up.
No, he did
20
not
years
just
ago.
40 years ago.
Oh.
But yeah,
Wait,
it's fairly recent as in terms of philosophy goes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was wondering.
In our introduction, where Morpheus from The Matrix says, "Welcome to the Desert of the Real," that's what he's referring to. And if you're familiar with The Matrix as anything other than a sci-fi action movie, you've been exposed to a lot of Baudrillardian thought.
Baudrillard.
That is where Welcome to the Desert of the Real came from.
Very nice.
So to jump in today, Ryan, do you want to give us a brief, non-spoiler filled summary of the movie, and then we can move in?
So a brief non-spoiler summary of the movie I See You from 2019. I just want to see the reception because it's generally positive. However, I did see it maybe cost around $5 million to make, made about $1 million back. The numbers I'm seeing here, but still mostly positive. It's a spooky movie about a family who's going through some family trauma stuff. You can tell things are on edge between the mom, the dad, and the son. But also something or someone is watching them. And it's spooky things are happening. TVs are turning on. The blankets are moving by themselves. Things are going missing. It's like a haunted house movie. Then halfway through the movie, perspective changes. The POV changes.
The genre changes.
The genre changes. And you like that it changes.
I love that it changes.
Don't love it.
Oh, I loved it.
And it's almost impossible to talk about the second half of the movie without spoiling it. But suffice it to say that halfway through the movie, things do a little flipperoo, and we see new things. And
so we basically rewatched the first half of the movie.
Right.
Through a different perspective.
Yeah.
And some of the things that happened in the first half become clear.
Right.
How they happened and why they happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then right near the end, it switches again.
Yeah, that's the other thing. And I texted you. I was like, does this movie have too many plot twists?
So we can jump in right there.
We're going to talk about, I don't know because not a lot of people have seen this movie, but hopefully you have an
shame.
opportunity to watch it before you listen, if you watch it and watch rated R movies and stuff. But
Or if you watch it on VidAngel like me.
let's watch it on VidAngel like Dietz here. I think we should start at the beginning because it's spooky
Yeah.
right away. And I even wrote a note that has the Evil Dead camera, or I would say an homage to the Evil Dead camera, because it's a disembodied thing flying through the air. It's got a lot of drone shots, like a lot of establishing shots. And that's okay because the house looks awesome.
Yeah.
Like, the house looks like a nice place to live. It's in Ohio. It looks like the ocean, but it's one of the Great Lakes, and it'd be awesome to live there.
Yeah.
I was thinking that. I was like, man, what a nice house. But later on, other people say, like, man, this house is so nice. Kind of like a plot point. They have to live in a nice place. But anyway, because right away, it's like a supernatural thing at first, because a boy's riding his bike, and the boy flies off his bike. That's how the movie starts.
Yeah.
And like, well, clearly something's going on. The evil camera point of view is evil, obviously. And the movie's called I See You, where it's all about looking at something else.
Who sees what?
Who
and
sees
when,
what?
and-
What's going on? Who is doing the seeing?
Yeah.
And kind of literally right away, the house is being tormented by this thing. And I was like, oh, we don't even have an opportunity to kind of dip our toes in the water. We're going right into the way of something is looking at this family here.
And that is one of many things I love about this movie, because horror is my favorite genre to watch.
That's a good thing you brought up, because you love horror.
I do.
Your favorite movies out of all your movies are horror movies.
Yes. One of the issues I have with a lot of horror movies is how long it takes to get to
The scary stuff.
the stuff that the movie's about, like up to an hour sometimes.
Oh, that's
yeah.
fair.
One of the genre-bending things that I loved about this movie is, we get maybe a minute in,
Yeah,
and then we're already immersed.
Well, what's so funny that you say that is that's maybe something that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It's like we don't even have time to understand what this family's like, and then haunted stuff. I'm not against scary movies, but I also haven't seen a lot. There's a lot of spooky movies. That's my biggest blind spot. I just haven't seen. And even watching this, like, my wife won't watch movies that are scary. I have to wait till she's asleep or doing something else, which is what I did. I watch this by myself. And I will say, it's effective.
Yeah.
The first half is super effective. The second half, not so much.
I don't know.
See, I kind of was hoping, or I was wishing that a few things took its time a little bit more.
Like what?
Like, for example, the husband sleeping in a bed, and we see the blankets slowly get pulled off of him. Mm-hmm. I was like, hey, show us that a little bit more. Like, I don't know.
They did.
It just...
From the other perspective later on.
Later on, we see the blanket. Yeah, but just show us him sleeping, and then, I don't know, build up, like, what will happen. It just shows us what happens right away.
Yeah.
There are things like that I feel I could have, taken its time, dip its toe in the water. But you like that about this movie.
Yeah, I love that. We're moving. There's not really a spot, especially actually first and second half, where you take a breather.
Yeah.
Because it's this constant, what's going on? Why is it going on? Are these guys okay? What's happening and how? There's
Yeah.
not a breather spot.
That's
Which is one of the things I loved about it.
that's fair. Even like when he pees
But
the
you
bed.
hated it. Yeah,
I
even when he
hate
pees
that.
the bed.
I was like, oh, maybe acknowledge that this is a weird thing that doesn't happen. He kind of just looks at the wet bed, like, all right, let me throw these in the washing machine.
Well, I mean, he's like 40, 50 years old. You don't want to be like, hey, hon, guess what just happened? I wet the bed. Yeah.
Also, I don't know if this is a nitpick or something that just I didn't like as much. Also, with the family, because you find out almost immediately as well, the issue they're having is she cheated on the husband.
Yeah.
And obviously causes a lot of tension. But I was like, they kind of just told us right away. Mm-hmm. Not like what's going on here, what's the deal with these three. he's like, I'm mad at you for this specific reason.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, just because I don't know. I like let us stew in the awkwardness or something. But I don't know.
I mean, right. Yeah, you're right. So my explanation for that is that that's not what the movie's about. It's not about what did she do to screw it up as part of the mystery.
Yeah. Well, arguably, you don't know if the thing that's watching them isn't like an angry ghost or
Right,
something.
you have no idea.
Like it could have. That's the thing that's kind of fun. And
I love it.
I want to talk about the thing that happens right in the middle because.
Do it.
Because here's the thing. It's scary. A big house, something's watching, and I was getting creeped out. And then it's revealed because the boy's on his computer, and he gets a message from someone, and it's like, do you know what frogging is? Spelled with a PH. He's like, what's that? Like, look it up. And he looks up this video, frogging caught on camera, and it's this guy that's living in a house. You know what's scary? Ghosts. But you know what's scarier? People. Because people are real and ghosts aren't real. And someone in your house is way scarier than a ghost. I was like, this is it. What a twist. This is so scary.
Yes.
See?
See?
And I was freaked out because he's standing in the doorway. Yeah. It's a guy. And because ghosts can be scary in movies. Do you believe in ghosts?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't believe in ghosts.
That's okay.
I'm super skeptical.
You have many other fine qualities.
I know. I used to be fun and believed in all these cryptids and ghosts. But now I'm like, ghosts, nothing's real. Oh, I was going to say, even though a ghost movie would have been fine and good, someone living in the house, that is so much scarier to me.
That's why I think it's so effective in building that, because the ghost part, when you think it's a ghost, I guess we're just going to, when you think that the ghost is doing all this stuff, that's freaky enough.
Yeah.
You mentioned the homage to Evil Dead. There's also a lot of paranormal activity.
Yeah.
Like the pulling of the blanket off happens multiple times in Paranormal Activity.
Yeah.
And you think up until that moment, and you're already like freaked out. There's a ghost screwing around with these people.
Yeah.
And then, just like you said, it's even freakier because it wasn't a ghost. It's people that they don't know are there living in their house.
That's the scariest situation.
And they don't know they're there.
Here's the thing, because there's a point because the dad's a cop. And he goes with the other cop to investigate a similar investigation from the past. And I was like, why, movie? You already showed us it's a ghost. You started the movie with a boy flying off his bike. Quit wasting my time looking at a person, you know? But then you find out that it's a person. It's not a ghost. It's a person. And
so that's an issue for you, and I accept that.
But it became not an issue when it showed its hand.
But I accept that. That's a fair critique, except for what I think they're doing there is seeding. Like they're seeding, and one of the other reasons why I think this movie is so effective is because they seed everything.
Yeah.
Like there's no surprises that come later that weren't already seeded previously. And so
there might be one in the end.
Okay.
The very end.
There might be one in the end that we're not going to spoil.
Not yet. We will get to it, I think. We'll let you know. We'll let you know, listener.
And so
we talk about the ending.
Yeah. And so that's another reason I think this is such an effective movie. Is you disagreed in your comments to me, but I believe that there's nothing wasted here. I feel this is a very tight movie. All the shots are tight, even like extremely tight, like to the point that like a strawberry being sliced takes up the whole screen. Tight.
You think it's a reference to the garlic from Goodfellas?
Sure.
Anytime food gets cut up close, it's got to be.
Actually, this seems like a good moment to, enter the dessert of the reel.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Because there's only really one answer for the dessert of the reel.
Yeah.
The mom makes pancakes.
Yep.
And the husband won't eat the pancakes.
No. And the son won't eat the pancakes.
No one eats the pancakes. She even calls about it. He's like, I don't want your pancakes.
Yeah.
And
chucks the phone out the window. And
breaks the window because of the pancakes.
Because of the pancakes.
So the dessert of the reel's kind of
Yeah, it really kind of revolves around the dessert of the reel.
the pancakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So pacing issues you have.
I mean, yes and no, only because it's like, oh, ghosts. And then like, don't waste my time movie. But then it's like, oh, but
Right.
turns out it's not a ghost. It's a person, which is way scarier, by the way.
Yeah, I think we covered that.
Yeah.
We did.
I just want to get that across. Because I'm a scaredy cat, and I was watching this by myself, and like, I'm creeped out.
Yeah, what if there is someone living in your attic?
Yeah.
Right now?
So I have a story. I don't know. It's not even relevant. It's not even my story. So I guess I shouldn't say. But on my mission, I went on a church mission in New England. And at first I thought this movie was in New England. I was like, this looks like New England, but it was Ohio, which is fine. Anyway, there's some missionaries at the church building just by themselves is doing something on the computer. And a homeless guy just walks like by them. He was living in the attic. Just a guy that just was living in the
it's
church.
A real world frog.
Yeah, a real world frog. I don't know if that's a real phrase, but
it is now, I guess.
it works in this movie.
Yeah.
Pre point of view shift, there is a great scary moment, which isn't scary at first, but becomes super scary, and then doesn't become scary afterwards. When the mom is cleaning the son's room, and she's cleaning under the bed, there's a freaky frog mask. That's weird. Freaky. Whatever. And then you see the guy wearing the frog, and you're like, the guy was there. He was there. That's so scary.
Yeah.
That's like one that you think about later on.
Right. Okay, and to think about later on is another reason I love this movie so much. Because I've thought a lot about not just the plot, but a lot of the deeper kind of ethical, philosophical questions that it raises.
Uh-huh.
So those are the kinds of movies that I think we should be watching. Because you don't watch it and it's done and you're like, okay, now what's on, Netflix or whatever.
Yeah,
you watch it and you have to think about it. You can't just watch it and be like, oh, yeah, I watched that and move on.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the kind of foundational questions of philosophy is the nature of good and evil. And so what I think this movie does philosophically is it forces us to consider a whole bunch of different levels of evil. And it doesn't really force us to, or it doesn't tell us this is more evil than this is more evil than this. So we've got the son who's very angry, like
Yes.
all the time. He's disrespectful to his mom. Like the way that he interacts with his mom and other people is disrespectful. So is that evil?
No,
maybe not.
Here's to that point.
Okay, go.
I think that's why I have issue with just jumping into, oh, my mom cheated on someone and I'm mad about it. It's like, if the only thing you know about the characters is how angry it is, it might be hard to empathize. Like, oh, you're just annoying and mad, and that's all there is to you. I think maybe that's why it annoyed me, when it's just, you just telling us right away what's going on.
Because he doesn't have layers yet.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're just angry, and at the moment, I'm just kind of annoyed at it.
That's fair.
That might be my one issue. So continue. That's a great first layer.
That's an evil, potentially. Then you've got the mom cheating. Is potentially an evil.
Yeah.
We've got well, yeah, sure. And then we've got, the people stealing from, like, the frogs.
Yeah.
Stealing from the people. That's an evil. We have murders.
Yeah.
Which are evil. We have kidnappings. We have, like, just all of these levels, and there's not really a point where the movie gets didactic, and says this is naughtier than this, which is naughtier than this. So what it forces me to do, or us to do, is sit back and think about all of the things that happen in this movie, and which is the thing that is the the catalyst for all of this, and that thing has to be the most evil thing. And I think that's really a smart answer to the question of good and evil. Is what is the catalyst, and what happens after the catalyst. So we can take the kid being angry. What comes out of the kid being angry? And the weight of that versus the mom cheating, and what comes out of that.
Yeah.
And, the kidnappings and what comes out of that, and the frogging.
Yeah.
And we can come up with an answer based on what did this one piece, this one evil, cause to happen after it. So I think that's a super smart, super interesting way to approach the question of good and evil.
That is interesting. I like that. There is one nice moment where the window guy comes in, like, oh, the girl let me in. And it's like, what girl? I don't have a daughter.
Yeah, there's so many moments like that.
Is the ghost a girl?
Right. So
the TV keeps turning on about the case.
Yeah.
Like, the ghost wants me to watch this.
Yeah.
Good stuff. And I was really spooked out until the spoiler cast.
So, yeah, this is where we start with the spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, maybe pause it and go watch it and then come back.
Right. You see the frog, the guy wearing the frog mask, and you're like, oh, that's the guy under the bed. It's scary. And he's in the doorway. And then we change perspectives and we see it from the frog's point of view.
And we go back in time.
Two new characters going into the house to live there. And it's called frogging because they leap from pad to pad.
Right.
Frog spelled with a PH. And I thought all the momentum was just shot down. I'm like, I'm not scared anymore.
But then you are.
Well, no, I'm not. Until the end. Until we get to the ending part. But the girl just doesn't seem like a bad person.
She's not.
And then her friend doesn't seem like a bad guy. Then he slowly reveals himself to be, well, that to your point, layers of evil.
Right.
He's like, wow, this guy's not good, right?
And then we learn something else, and now he's like, oh, this guy really is not good.
Yeah.
And then we get to the end, and we realize, oh, so all of what he was doing was caused by something that one of the other characters did earlier in his life.
Right.
And so that that forces us to then recontextualize everything that kid does in the context of the previous evil that had happened.
I think that's good. I do think that's good. I just think it's asking a lot by the end when we find out about the dad.
Yes.
Yes. Here's a movie that this reminded me of. A separate movie to go and watch if you want a recommendation that's similar is Barbarian, which I don't think you've seen yet. But a similar thing kind of happens where the movie's going and it just stops to see someone else. But that movie is more like a purposeful tonal shift. Not that this one isn't purposeful, but that one, you just cut to someone singing a song and it's kind of funny. Till we get back to the other spooky stuff. But this one, I just thought, I mean, maybe I'm going into this thinking this is a scary movie that wants to scare me, take it away and scare me movie. Like, oh, I'm not scared when we can see the people doing the stuff anymore. Right. All the answers revealed, the mask is pulled off, all those things. I'm like, oh, it's just two people. And they're not doing bad things. I mean, we're like, when you first see it, you're like, oh, eventually we get to the point where the guy is going to break into the boys' room and tie him up. And
he beats the crap out of him and ties him up.
Yeah. And it's like eventually we get there, but it's going to take some time to build that tension up again, which it does.
So that's fair. I mean, admittedly, we could view this movie as two separate movies.
Yeah, I think it is.
That's one of the other things that I love about this movie. We've been watching for the last 3 weeks these very formulaic Marvel movies.
Yeah.
They follow Freitag's pyramid, like the exposition, rising action, climax, falling action to a T.
Yeah.
Like every one of them. And so one of the things I appreciate about my movies that I love are they don't do that.
Yeah.
Like they screw with it in some way. So one of my very favorite movies ever of all time is Memento.
Yeah.
Which completely just obliterates Freytag's pyramid.
Right.
And I really like this for that reason. That's another reason I really like that. Because it's basically saying, yeah, I know that we're supposed to have exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, conclusion. But you know what? Screw it. We're not going to do that. We're going to do that twice. And then we're going to have another one, like just a little Freytag's pyramid at the end. And suck it. And what are you going to do about it? Nothing.
Right.
You're going to watch the movie.
Exactly.
So I love that. You hated it. That's fair. That's a fair critique.
I gave it a 3.5 out of 5, which is a 7 out of 10. It's overall more positive. You reminded me of something. I teach a film class at high school, and we talk about narrative structure. We talk about that plot structure. Exposition, inciting incident, rising action, climax, falling action, the denouement. I have a French foreign exchange student, and I said it wrong at first. And there's other French words too, like the mise en scène or mise en scène. I forgot. She corrected me, and I'm like, I'll say it right. I promise. I think she said it's mise en scène.
Mise en.
Anyway, but we talk about film structure, and I made up a statistic like 90% of movies follow classical film structure.
Wait, you made up that statistic?
Yeah, it's
Cool.
It's got to be close to 90%.
I think it's
like
120.
Maybe 98. Never mind. But like classical film structure, otherwise known as Hollywood film structure. Mm-hmm. It's not asking you to question the structure, beginning, middle, and end. Here's everything you need to know. We're not having you question who the good guy is or the bad guy is. It's all straightforward. The endings are usually succinct, obvious. You're not wrong. All Marvel movies follow this structure. But then there's art house film structure. And art house or art film narrative structure typically asks more from the audience. Like Memento's a perfect example. It want movies like, hey, you, pay attention to this. Or I See You, the movie we're talking about. It's like, well, now watch it again from this point of view. Mm-hmm. Not that this movie is super art housey, but it is more art housey with its structure.
Yeah, for sure.
And it does ask more out of it. Just since I'm here and I teach film studies, I just want to say some things that make a movie art house: less narrative clarity, more ambiguity. Things can have a lot less closure. The viewer has to interpret more for themselves. And maybe might not be as appealing to mass audiences. Those are kind of like the key things that make a movie art housey. And I think this movie's not too weird or strange. It's not super, like I said,
not art housey.
Not asking enough, but it is asking you to watch it twice
at
from
least,
a different point of view. And like you said, the bad guy, or not the bad guy, but the layers of evil is an interesting way to look at it. Because we do hate that guy at first. He's going to tie up the kid. We know that. The movie told us he was. But then it's like, yeah, well, what about if he was a victim from a previous, badder person?
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's my issue with the ending.
Okay.
We find out the dad kidnapped those kids 15 years ago.
Yep.
And when he goes to go talk to the kid 15 years ago, he freaks out because he sees the kid.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, the kid freaks out because he sees him.
Yeah.
Right. So it's seeded.
I know, but it's never, we don't come back to that, I suppose. I don't know.
Not until the end.
Not till the end. I guess my main problem with this reveal, like, oh, the dad does it. Did we know the guy who breaks in? Does he know who the dad is?
Yeah,
that's why he does it?
Yes.
Does the movie tell us
yes.
that? When does it tell us that? Because I missed that.
Right near the start of, like the second, when we switch perspectives, he says, "Isn't this a great house? That's why I chose it." Like he chose the house. And it's his first and probably only frogging experience because he picked it because he wanted to screw with them.
Right.
And so the whole time, especially at the start, the girl's like, no, we're just living here. We're eating their food. We're not screwing with them. And he's like, no, I think it's fun to screw with them. Let's, take the pictures out of their frames one at a time. Let's, take their silverware and disappear it. Let's pull the bed off and pee on him, and
pee on him.
let's screw around. And that's the whole reason he's doing all of that, because he wants them to break down mentally, like the dad caused him to do 15 years earlier.
That's fair.
It's all seated, which again is one of the reasons I love this movie, because everything fits.
Yeah.
It's so tight. There's nothing wasted, in my opinion.
I would say, knowing that he chose it deliberately might fix my problem with it, because I'm like,
oh, well, then go fix it.
What is this strange? Like, of course, just happens to be like this. Do you think you'd have woken up if someone was peeing on your bed?
No.
No?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I was like,
what the
is
heck?
this?
Why don't we?
I was like, is this the deepest sleeper in the world? I was like,
I don't think you
that would wake me up.
Well, we should try it sometime. Let's have one of your kids pee on you in the night and see what happens.
I'm like, what the heck? He takes the blanket off. He's gonna wake up that way. And I was like, what do we have? The world's deepest sleeper here? I was like, I would have woken up. Maybe because I'm not the deepest sleeper in the world.
Yeah, I don't know. That did not cause me any issues at all.
These deep sleepers.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that would have woken me up. Because he records the dad's face. He zooms in on the eye. Mm-hmm. Then you start to realize, it's the dad. He wants to torment the dad.
He's obsessed with the dad.
And he does the thing with the kid because
it's going to
with
upset the dad.
Because that's what happened to him,
Yep.
and he deserves that.
Yep. So this little realization that you just had is why why I think this movie is so good.
Yeah.
Because you almost have to watch it more than once
to realize
to understand how carefully put together this movie is.
Yeah, because I didn't realize he chose it. I'm like, oh, it just happens to be that this is the guy.
Yeah, no.
This guy who happens to be a detective, who happens to be investigating the thing that happened 15 years ago. Also, why 15 years? Why does he do it when he's mad at his wife? I was like, how come he did it then? Why is he doing it now?
I don't know. I don't know.
Also, I don't know if the wife has a lot to do in this movie besides look like this.
Surprised and wishing she'd she's right. And so that, again, to go back to the Tears of Evil, her
Tears of Evil, good name for like a heavy metal
sure
album.
Rock on. So the fact that she has not really a whole lot of motion in her character, again, causes us to ask, okay, so is, committing adultery, where does that fit in the tier?
Yeah.
Because we get a lot about child abduction. We get a lot about lying or stealing or molestation, although there isn't any.
Allegedly.
Alleged. There isn't any of that
Yeah.
in the film. So just her lack of forward motion as a character is very interesting.
And then like the guy she's cheating with comes to the house, and I'm like, read the room, guy. You're breaking up this family here.
Yeah, but he's just so in love.
But then here's the thing. It's like the first twist, it's not a ghost, it's people. And the second twist, it's like, because the girl's in the basement when the guy comes over.
The adulterer.
The adulterer.
I don't know.
Sure. But the adulterer's in the house and gets hit on the head. You just assume it's the guy frogging.
Or the kid.
No, I didn't ever assume that.
Oh, because my initial assumption was this is the kid. He's just so pissed off that he overheard them somehow.
See, that's fun that it could be multiple people.
And killed him. But it's neither one of those.
It's the dad. I'm like, oh, snap. He killed the guy.
Okay,
He's
and
going
so
to
Yeah.
That's a great twist.
It is. And so then that's the first seed for, okay, maybe the dad's not a really great person.
He just hates the guy she cheated with.
So that later, but he frickin' kills him.
Yeah,
and not only that, like, he becomes, in Tears of Evil, he becomes more evil when his wife discovers this dead dude, and he comes in and he's like, you do not get to freak out now.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, you are a dirtbag. You killed the guy. She's freaking out. You don't. But he's like, you don't get to freak out right now. You made this happen. You're the one that, committed adultery.
Yeah.
And so we get right there. We get him killing him. Oh, maybe he's not the great good. Him manipulating his wife into feeling like crap.
Yeah.
He's really not that good. So for me, the ending was not overwhelmingly
convoluted,
shocking, because I feel like we'd been prepared to view him as less than a perfect person already.
Okay, I like that. But then you find out that he kidnapped 15 years ago. I guess. I don't know. I still think the movie might be asking a lot.
Fair.
From us. Fair. Anyway, but I don't hate the movie. I might even bump it a half star.
You should.
Just
now that you understand.
And then the kid doesn't die, and the other cop recognizes him because he dealt with the case 15 years ago.
Yep. So the dad's partner was the one that supposedly cracked the case 15 years earlier. And he's the one that shows up.
I'm coming back to it. When the other kid freaks out because he recognizes the dad as the bad guy. I don't know. He just went in willingly to be like, oh, I hope the kid doesn't recognize me or doesn't. Well,
he
say
stays
anything.
very far back. If this movie has a problem or a hole, that would be that.
Because at first you're like, I already said. I'm just repeating myself. The kid flew off the bike because of some supernatural. Nope, it's a wire.
So, final thoughts. My final thoughts. Obviously, I'm a huge, huge fan of this movie, even though it didn't make a lot of money, even though, whatever, people haven't seen it. I think this should be watched by a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think that this it's not a masterclass in anything, really, but it's very, very tight. If you enjoy movies that force you to think, that aren't just, like, you can't finish the movie and be done with the movie.
Yeah.
I think this is a fantastic watch. Like I've said multiple times, there's the Tears of Evil, and it forces you to consider what's right, what's wrong.
Yeah.
How right is it? How wrong is it? There's also the genre bending. It goes from being a horror movie to a found footage movie to a thriller, and then it's out. I love that because it's breaking standards, the Hollywood structure.
Yeah.
I think that all of the characters are very well acted, even though I think Helen Hunt's the only actually famous person in the movie.
The dad's been in stuff I can't think of at the moment, though.
But I bought all of these characters at every moment of the movie, which has been a problem that I've had with some of the Marvel movies in the past. So my letterbox is 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
I think this is a fantastic movie. So your closing.
Before I get to my final thought, if you're like, I want another movie about people breaking into houses, but it's a little movie that a lot of people maybe should check out. That might make you think. It's also rated R, for the record. It's called Martha, Macy, May, Marlene. That's the name of the movie. Martha, Macy, May, Marlene. It's also saying things about, I don't know, paranoia, mental health and stuff.
Cool.
But it does involve people who break into houses. I'm like, and I thought of that when I was watching this movie. This movie has a great mask design. I think every movie's trying to replicate what's an iconic mask, like Michael Myers or Ghostface. I think the frog's freaky.
Yeah.
And it's got a great poster. Have you seen the poster? It's like all black, except for the mask slowly peeking in. Great poster.
Yep.
Almost the best part of the whole movie, kind of.
Ouch. Ouch.
I want to ask you a question for my final thought. Voyeurism typically involves watching people do things that shouldn't be watched, but does voyeurism kind of bleed into just watching people in general?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Because is that
I don't know.
how
I don't
evil
think
is
this
just
is
watching people? That's my.
I don't think this is about voyeurism.
I know, but is it? Can you argue that voyeurism is just about watching people in general?
I guess.
I don't
We're
know.
all voyeurs.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because
That's an
technically,
interesting thought.
can't you make an argument it's just watching people in general? Because they didn't consent to being watched by these two strangers.
But they weren't really watched by the two strangers.
That's
They
fair.
were just manipulated by them.
That's fair. Then the guy goes and watches, even with the camera, he's recording the dad
Right,
sleeping.
right,
So you don't
right.
know what's going on. He has that whole backstory with him.
But yeah, I think you could make that.
It's like
Case.
just watching someone live their life because he's
Yeah.
messing with the TV and things. It's like, and it gets in the way. They didn't consent to that.
No.
I was wondering about if that plays into the layers of
Yeah,
evilness.
for sure. I think you could make that easy argument.
I actually don't know if I have a solid takeaway besides the fact that, like, what do we know about our neighbors?
Yeah.
Like, the dad's just a normal dad who he got cheated on, and he's also a cop.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got a shady past. And it's this, I guess a postmodernism reading of this would be, can we trust the guy who's supposed to protect us, the dad figure, the police figure? Maybe this movie asks, maybe we can't. Maybe we just can't blindly trust people in our
At
life.
all.
I don't know. Because you're right, the dad isn't just a twist. He killed the guy. He also did other things.
Yeah.
And he's still doing it.
Yep.
I wonder what if she cheated on him 15 years ago and he only goes and murders boys when he's mad at his personal life?
I don't know. That's possible.
I guess that's my only takeaway is like we can't blindly trust people and we should always be skeptical and trust nothing.
Until you've,
Yes.
thought critically and
Yes.
engaged and make your decision rather than I'm the authority figure. Trust
Yeah.
me.
I trust you, Jason.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, that's because you know me.
Yeah.
You've thought critically about me, and
I just want to reiterate, I like this movie.
I love this movie.
Yeah. I think people should watch it. And if you've listened to this far and you haven't watched it, might as well as watch it. We've talked about everything, but
Yeah. Yeah.
Good movie. Do you know what your next movie will be?
I don't.
We're 4 weeks away.
Yeah. I've got to emotionally and mentally make it through Thor and Captain America.
Yeah.
And
You might like Captain America, is my prediction.
well, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know.
I don't know. Did you like having a break from the Marvel movies?
I did. I loved rewatching this movie. Just again, amazed and impressed at how tight the movie is. So
Yeah. Do you have any ghost stories?
yeah,
Oh, man. You want to tell one for the pod?
on our way out.
Oh, man.
Yeah, sure.
I love ghost stories, even though I don't believe them.
Well, with my youngest, my daughter, we went on a ghost tour of New England last summer, actually. And we didn't see any ghosts except until like the very last day.
Yeah.
And we went to the Wilson Castle I think it's in Vermont, which I would recommend anyone go. But so we were going through the castle, right? And this and all, it's really kind of cool. Visually, there's a lot of artifacts and cool stuff. And then we get to this bedroom. And as we're walking into the bedroom, there's this curtain that separates the bedroom from the bathroom. It's not a door, it's a curtain. And the curtain's kind of moving out, and the guide is like, "Oh, she's here today," and I'm like,
Nice.
"Right." There's a string or something, or a breeze or whatever, and she's like, "I didn't say that. That was my thoughts." And we're watching. The curtain goes out, and back in, and then it goes in. So if it was a breeze, it would
come
have just
out?
been out, but then it goes in and then it kind of just drops.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, there's obviously a string there, but I didn't say that and I didn't call it out. And so we went through the rest of the house, whatever. And then my daughter and I, like, we kind of snuck off from the group to go back to that room to find the string. And so I have a video of the curtain doing that.
Yeah.
And then us looking, there's no string.
Uh-huh.
There's no breeze, like literally nothing there to make that curtain move. And so that's my ghost story.
Okay.
The scary moving curtain from the Wilson Castle in Vermont.
All right, this became a paranormal activity podcast. That's what we're going to cover exclusively from here on out.
Yeah, no.
Call in with your ghost stories.
That's the end. That's all I've got.
I'll say this. I think people go into scary movies because they like to be scared.
Yeah.
It's a thrill. It's like
For sure.
a amusement ride. And I thought it was scary. And then second half not scary. But that doesn't mean it's bad. I'll say that.
Well, I mean, if you view it as 2.5 separate movies,
Yeah.
we have an hour-long, really pretty dang good ghost story.
Right.
We have an hour-long, pretty dang good, I don't even know what it is. It's not manipulation, found footage, something, and then a reveal at the end. So, yeah, I don't think it's a horror movie.
Okay.
I think it's a
Psychological thriller.
Psychological
thriller.
Right, exactly. So, all right. Any last thoughts?
I don't know. Maybe we should try. Oh, we should record. We should record another scary movie, but in the dark.
Like talking about it in the dark.
Audience can't see it, but they'll know it's scary.
Yeah, because
we'll get a Ouija board and ask it questions.
No, we won't do that. All right.
Thanks for the recommendation, Dr. Dietz.
Yeah, thank you for watching it. Finally,
I know.
I've been trying to get you to watch it for years. So.
I have a list of movies you've recommended that I haven't watched
It's
yet.
probably a long list.
It was on there.
Yeah,
I should take it off now.
Yeah. Well, thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in.
We'll see. Be with Thor next week.
Yeah. So go think critically.
Yeah.
Do not allow the movies that you watch to write you. Engage with them.
I just thought of something.
Yeah.
We have an email.
Do we?
desertoftherealpod@gmail.com. Maybe we can, if you are listening along, you can email questions or your hot takes or analytical analysis of the movies.
Sure.
So Thor, Captain America, next time you watch along with us, or even this movie.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
Maybe we could read off some emails about what you thought of the movie and what the philosophical take is.
Sure.
So by all means, desertoftherealpod@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.
See you next
Thanks
week.
for listening.